Oh, welcome to Family Hour. This is part of our ongoing series regarding the harvest. We're here with Kevin, with Kirk, and with Leah. I'm not sure.
Wookie too.
Yeah, I'm not sure we yet have on this program Rich, but we will soon enough. He has done a number of things to make this program work for us. Where are now? I'm just trying to. Oh, there we go. All right. So now I have everybody set up correctly. All I need to do is make certain I've got the volume off, and we are ready to go. I feel so happy here between Kevin, Kirk, and Leah. I'm the guy in the middle.
The monkey in the middle.
I am well, my wife would say I'm the monkey in the middle. We're actually going to start this program, Captain Kirk, where you suggested I've not seen it, but you have told me that you sent me an email.
I did.
About your analysis of Eldod and Medod and what Yada represents. And for those who do not know, in our last program, I went back over what Yahweh revealed about these two individuals, and I'm going to share it again because when Moshe told Yahweh, I can't deal with these people, speaking of the children of Israel, that they're impossible. They're antagonizing, they're embittered, they're ungrateful. The fact is, they're just obnoxious, and no one can lead them. No one can get through to them. I want out. And in fact, it's so bad, I want you, please, if you have any compassion for me, just kill me. That's how bad this is. And Yahweh had just experienced a moment before all of this where he burned up everything around the encampment. He was so disgusted by them. So these were dark times for the children of Israel. God rejected them, and so did Moshe. And yet Yahweh came up with a plan. That plan would have long legs. It would be played out over the course of 3,450 years, which means that Yahweh has a lot of patience, but he had a plan. And I'm going to read a little bit about that plan. And then, Captain Kirk, I'm going to let you share what you learned about Medod and Eldod, because it is, it's just exceedingly overwhelming to read about one's presence in Yahweh's story in such extraordinary company. You know, there with Moshe, Dod, so long ago. Because what it means is that, there's only one way to cut this. It means that Yahweh knew that our collaboration was going to be fruitful, that we would achieve what heretofore had been unachievable. We're going to get finally Israel's attention. We're going to call them back to Yahweh, to recognize that Dod is their king. And he said so 3,400 years ago, and I don't think I look 3,400 years old personally, but
you held up really well.
Yeah, it's the fancy shirts, I think, that
that watermelon juice.
Yeah, the watermelon tea and the fancy shirts that get it done, and that, and a good woman. Yeah, the good woman is the source of as an antioxidant for preventing aging. Yep. So this reads, and the one's name, the reputation, the identity, the proper name of the one is Eldod. Eldod is Yahweh's beloved. We know who Yahweh's beloved is. He's the most important person in God's story. He has a name that is actually mentioned second most only unto Yahweh's name, 1,100 times. So Dod should be pretty recognizable. And Eldod is simply the beloved of Yahweh, Yahweh's Dod. And the second is the same fella that was the lesser luminary, the same fella that was presented throughout this prophecy as the herald of Bashar. And his name is Madod. And you can render that in one of two ways. He's cast in as Dod's devoted friend, or he is the one who ponders the implications of the beloved's adoring hand. Either way. These two individuals, though it is said that the Ruach, the spirit of Yahweh, she came to rest, settle, and continuously remain upon them. We read when in Shamuel that the spirit of Yahweh came upon Dod and never left him. And we read in Yeshaya 11 that the seven spirits of Yahweh, including the very spirit of Yahweh, came upon his choder as Yada, the one who would write the signs that would bring God's people home. And the Ruach spirit, she came to rest, she settled, and continually remained upon them. They were among the writers, as men and women who have read all 35 books I have written, and some multiple times. There's no getting around the fact that we are writers, because I write about Dod. They did not emerge from the tent at this time. No, they would be leading an exodus for the illuminated family at another moment in time. Therefore, they would continue to speak prophetically, communicating the message of God, independent of all others, fortuitously and compassionately, within the encampment that is Yisrael. It is Midbar in the wilderness, Numbers 11:26. So, my friend Captain Kirk, you've only been with me now about, 18 years?
17, 18 years.
A decade or two.
2007 or 8.
A significant part of my 3,400-year life. What did you find when you checked into the names Eldod and Madod?
Well, the Eldod was pretty easy. Actually, when I first read it, it was obvious as Dod and as Yada.
I'm not hearing anything from Kirk. Are we communicating effectively?
Let's see. Can you hear me now?
Anything from Kirk? So here we had you teed up, Kirk.
I hear Kirk.
Your moment, and no sound at all. Kevin, are you able to speak to us?
I hear Kirk. Yeah.
No.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, so it's in his headset.
We're 2 on.
Rich, it's in his headset.
Oh, I hear it now.
I hear a little bit.
Can you
Okay.
hear?
All right.
Yeah, we got
Am I
it.
being heard?
Go ahead now.
Okay.
Captain Kirk.
Well, I was just saying, I wrote you a letter. I wasn't looking for something to talk about, but I wrote you a letter because I was kind of stunned. Last night I went over that passage you just read in depth, and it made it obvious it's Dod and Yada. And so I did my little cursive thing that I normally do if I don't have a lot of time. I covered, okay, here's Eldod, so I looked that number up, and then it'll be the verbal roots and then everything that's associated with it. And there it was. And then I did the same thing on Madod. But I kept coming up with Madod. He keeps giving you, or Medod, he keeps coming up yada, yada, and more yada every time. And I was going the same meanings. And
Yeah, that's
so
what I was afraid you were going to find, because
yeah, oh yeah,
it was a shock to
overwhelming.
my system too. I mean, I haven't gotten over it since the day I translated it. I keep on hinting at it, and I said, we've got to discuss this, but oh my goodness, it's a shock to the system.
Well, if you want to, anybody wants to go out there and do a little research, the Strong's number is 3045 yada. So what I did is I asked myself at the end of all that, I said, what does yada mean? And here is, it just goes on and on and on, but I'll try not to bore you, but tell me which things don't apply to you. It says, to know in a relational way, bearer of knowledge, one who is informed, related also to kinship, also to know and to perceive, understand and acknowledge, advise, answer, discover, appoint, prognosticator, man of many skills, has a surety about him, teaches and makes known, one who ascertains by seeing, uses a variety of senses, figuratively, literally, and emphatically and fervently, showing emotion, warm passion, fever, to boil, to glow. I thought that was pretty good. Wherever, yeah. So, I mean, emotional, in other words. Also observant, caring, recognition and causatively instruction, designation, punishment, I thought was a good one because you are the rod, the shoulder rod too. Diligent, can tell and understand, relational, observer, well-known. Now these are all any one of those lexicons you want to go, that's where they are. Well-known and well-aware, possessing discernment, discriminating, and trustworthiness. And then I apologize to you that it just kept going on and on, but let's finish. He knows how to do it.
It's not your opinion here where you
this is
here because we've known each other for a long time, but this is just what that name word means.
Yeah, so it knows how to do a thing and does it. Skilled in the sea, which I thought was really interesting because you're both a sea captain and extremely knowledgeable about that other sea called Goen, especially have knowledge of God and duty. And at the end of Benmar 1125, you said, what a marvelous way to highlight future events through previous experiences, turning a horrible episode into a teaching opportunity. The Torah is a prophetic and miraculous, enlightening and educational. And I said in my letter to you, I said, and so are you, my friend. I don't see anything in there that I can't apply to you. This is not talking about yada, yada, I know, like a Steinfeld show. You know, this is you.
Yeah, it's like saying during the debate a long time ago when it was a debate where a young senator quoted JFK and his rival said, JFK was a friend of mine. I know JFK. And you can say the same thing. Yada is a friend of yours. You know Yada. Yeah, we've been together a long time. And normally you'd say, boy, the less said, the better, because it's tough to live up to those expectations. And, you know, the fact is, one of the things you learn in taking businesses public and being in the public eye is you always want to under-promise and over-deliver. And yet when you look up the basis of Yada and what Medod representing Eldod means, God is hyping this relationship. God does not do understated very well, does he? Unless it applies to himself.
Hardly.
No.
Went from a bush to the whole mountain's on fire. He does not do understated.
Yes, he went from a burning crag to the entire mountain on fire, and soon it's going to be the entire sky above Jerusalem. It's all going to be ablaze, and everything around Jerusalem is going to be ablaze, and Dode, you know, because God, I think, is actually pretty humble. He's pretty approachable, pretty humble, but his son, was really proud of Dode. And so Dode's going to come back as brilliant as the sun. And last time I checked, the sun's pretty bright.
Right.
Knock your eyes out, yeah. Right.
Yeah. Wow. Did you also look into Medod by any chance?
Not a great deal. When I got to that, I just wanted to write all that down to just to cover what it meant to you, because that was the fascination of it to me. I mean, I've done Dode before, but it's wait a minute. I do have a little something perhaps. Let's see here. Medod
It really
as,
is extraordinary, Kirk, as you're looking up your notes there.
uh-huh.
It is extraordinary as you're looking up for your notes. In the midst of the darkest moment, really, during the Exodus, and there are a lot of dark moments in the Exodus, but the darkest moment is Moshe's meltdown.
Yeah.
That Yahweh at that moment would say, "Don't sweat it, pal. I got this covered." And you'll find the other two guys. They're in the tent, and
Send him
one
into the
is
cavalry.
the beloved of God, and the other one is the one who searches for and comes to understand and then support the beloved of God. I mean, that's
Well,
astonishingly profound.
Moshe wrote the words we're reading. He talks about the next two Zerah, the one who's going to fulfill it, and then the one who's going to make sure that everyone gets to see it under the most extreme period that the world's ever seen. So, I mean, Zerah, and it's like, wow. But if you looked at Medad, and you looked at it through through the pictographs, you've got M, Yod, Dalet. So you've got answering the question, perhaps, that he's lifting up.
Yeah, it starts with water, doesn't it? The
Yeah.
sea. And what does the
So
sea what does the sea represent?
Well, light.
Goy, number one.
Well,
Because
yeah.
the Israelites are
That
of the
too.
land, and the
Yep.
Goy is of the sea. So we know, first of all,
And you cross the sea.
that Medod is a Goy.
Yep.
And Yahweh's beloved is actually incorporated into his name. He is the most Yahud of all Yahud. And by the first letter, we know that his pal is a Gentile. This is the ultimate Yahud.
every
supported
Yahud
by,
will,
I guess, the ultimate Gentile.
Yeah, but every Yahud will understand it immediately. They know that goy means that water is associated with goy.
Yeah. Now the second thing, what is water also associated with? Two other things. Water is the ultimate solvent.
Oh, yeah.
And therefore it is water that is the ultimate means of cleansing God's people. What does Medod do at the end?
Oh, yeah.
He cleanses. Oh, yes. It's a combination.
He cleanses the adulterous woman that is Yisrael. Yahweh releases torrents of water from underneath the Temple Mount, and it's the ashes and the flames that purge and cleanse this final remnant of Yisrael. So he is the cleansing waters.
And y'all are right out there in the middle of the ocean too.
Yeah. And where did all life emerge?
From the sea.
Yeah.
Life begins there.
And so water is also the source of life, and it is the sacrifice of the Adamah Parah, this red heifer, that gives new life to the mortal remnant of Yisrael. So the mem is a pretty astonishing clue, but the next letter is a yod, is it not?
Oh yeah, and that gives you somewhat.
So what does the yod represent?
Well, it's the
upper arm reaching down, the forearm reaching out with an open hand.
It lifts up.
Whose name starts with the yod? Whose name starts with the yod?
Oh Yah and
Yahweh. Okay, so this Gentile, who is a means to cleansing God's people and providing life, is serving as the very hand of God.
Mm-hmm. Point
which
the
means
direction.
He's conveying God's influence.
Yes. Yes.
That means he's trying to reach out to God's people to lift them up.
Mm-hmm.
That means he's grasping hold of them with an open hand, trying to grab hold of them, cherish them.
But
and the yod would also, since it's going right before dod, would mean that he would be the right hand of the king of dod, would it not?
That works. That works, yeah. But it's also
so far we have two stunningly important letters, and what do the two delets mean in Dod's name?
Well, that's the doorway to, or the doorway through, and then you've got. I've always maintained that in Doe's name, to me, it was rather personal because it has one-way entry from this way, the proper way, but the goy can come in that are going the wrong direction, and when they turn around, they can go through that way, that doorway as well. But it's still the Pesach door.
Yeah. Yeah. Dalet is the doorway. And it is Yod who, as the Passover lamb, opened the door not only to life, but to God's home.
Yes.
And so Dode coming and going, he had two Daleths in his name. He is opening the doorway to life and the doorway to God's home. And it is this goy who provides cleansing and new life as the influence both of Yahweh and the right hand of Dode that points to that doorway and to what Dode has done to open it for us. And since there are two doorways to God's home yet to be fulfilled, would that not also speak of Medod, since he is responsible for cultivating the Shabua and the Teruah harvest?
Yes, that's perfectly acceptable to say that. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So it's a gotcha. It's overwhelmingly powerful. Is the Torah literally becoming alive in our presence?
Yes.
So that we can capitalize upon it, so that God's people can benefit from it.
Yes.
This is God saying that there
ain't scary anymore.
Yeah, there are two people that are going to resolve this issue of you shooing Yahweh away and you antagonizing Moshe. And those two people are God's beloved, Dode, his beloved son, the Messiah King, and his herald, his Mashar.
His favorite person.
Of all people, he's a goy. And it provides this cleansing and new life, serving as the hand of Dode and the influence of Yahweh at our time, pointing to the door that Dode opened to God's home and to life.
It also gives a little credence to Leah's theory that the two persons in Yahweh's name are you and Dode.
Yeah, Leah is convinced, and I'm not. What did Yahweh say that you should do with your wife? Last time I checked, he has one advice on the wife, and he says, "Do what your wife says." When he was speaking to Abraham regarding Sarah, was my original thought that Yahweh's name, the two Hays, represented Abraham and Sarah. And the problem with that is that we know very, very little about Sarah. She laughed at God, which God thought was humorous, and said, "It's so humorous. Okay, then we're going to name your kid Laughter. That's what you're going to be like." And Abraham was a scallywag. He was not a very good man. And so to have Abraham and Sarah serve as the two people in Yahweh's name is really not a very good fit.
No, I think Abraham would have been charged with human trafficking if he were alive today.
But to put Dode as one of those two people in Yahweh's name, standing up, reaching up, doing what, taking a stand to do it was important in the midst of our time, 3,000 yan and 4,000 yan again, and 6,000 yan. To have Dode in Yahweh's name makes perfect sense because, well, the name of his tribe, the name of the people we call Jews, is Yahud, and Yahud is a compound of Yahweh and Dode. So it makes total sense to have Dode in Yahweh's name. And that would leave that other fella.
Yes,
it stands up for Dode at the end. That is the Medod to Eldod. That is the lesser luminary to the greater luminary. That is the herald to the king. Yeah, it was actually it was Dode who was inspired to write that my wife was a Chakma, which also means that my wife is 3,000 years old. She doesn't look a day over 30. So have to be careful with that kind of stuff.
Chokwa. It just means clever, intelligent.
Yes. Yeah. But he said that 3,000 years ago, so he had to know you.
Yeah. That's, yeah.
You know, it's amazing because we are literally living in the midst of the prophet Yeshaya. Everything that we are witnessing around us, that we're seeing fulfilled, is like we're living in the pages of Zechariah, Zephaniah, Zechariah, Malachi, and of course, Yirmiah and Yeshaya, even Hosea. And we're literally living in the age of the prophets. And it is even more exciting to know that we're living out the prophetic testimony of the Torah.
I
Yes.
think a lot of people take this idea of, quote, the living Torah as some sort of kind of religious ideology, when in
Gotta
fact
woo.
we can see that it's actually pragmatically true, accurate. It's just not an ideology. It's not some fluff out there in the ether. It's real.
Yeah.
It's tangible. It's provable.
Just on an observational note, none of my delighted to be part of an arranged marriage with the lovely Leah, but Rich's microphone ear set that Leah is utilizing for this show is so much better than the clunky headsets and this Shure mic that
I have good taste.
that,
Well, you got everything
I
else.
am anchored to for this show. So I am eminently jealous there,
She
Rich.
got the better gear.
And, Rich delivered this. As a matter of fact, we are now playing off of a forthright, really professional studio audio system that Rich had delivered.
We upgraded.
Just
Rich upgraded
yesterday,
us.
upgraded to that, and a marvelous video switch that we somehow stumbled upon and ended up here. So we're cooking with gas at this point. So I'm happy to be what is the monkey in the middle, as my wife would say. All right, we're going to return to Qatsyr Harvest. This program is part of this book here. This is Qatsyr. Qatsyr means harvest. There are two remaining, Shabbat and Teruah. The next one is, in fact, Shabbat. It means sevens. It is 7 years prior to Yahweh's return with his beloved Dode. It is less than a year from now, 22 May 2026. And a lot is going to happen, most of it bad, between now and then, although this is an extraordinarily positive day, and we want to encourage everyone who is listening to us to participate in this Qatsyr. And then there is a Teruah Lakat, and a final gleaning for Yisrael and Yehudim, for God's people, and 23 September 2033. Followed by the sacrifice of the Adamah Parah, the red heifer, on 24 September 2033, year 6000 Yah, to the backdrop of a full solar eclipse. And then 10 days later, the return of Dode with Yahweh on Yom Kippurim, 6:22 p.m., sunset in Jerusalem, October 2nd, 2033. 5 days later, we re-enter the Gan Eden, the Garden of Great Joy, and celebrate 1,000 years with Yahweh. These are the most important milestones along the way. There are a lot of others, and we will be talking about them over time. But what we had done in our last program, and it's a delight to turn back to Qatsyr Harvest, is one of my really favorite stories of the many stories of Yahweh, is that we were studying what Yahweh had to say through the prophet Yoel. Yoel is seldom considered, but man, is he ever insightful when it comes to what we are experiencing and will experience over these next 8.5 years. So we'll rejoin with Yashaya as we continue. Yahweh will have offered by having given his cold hue, his voice, for the presence of his especially capable and influential one. Someone he chooses that has the ability, the strength, the character, and competence to endure what is a time of travail and terror. This is because exceedingly great is his mercy and favoritism, his acceptance and his offer to camp out and to grow. Indeed, a potent and powerful force is the one who engages and acts upon his word. Truly valuable, important, capable, and competent. Yeah, if you want to make a difference in this world, you want to have a profound impact. If you want to go into forevermore with Yahweh, with your held up high, as all of us in this room and across the country here that are members of the covenant family will do, know that you engaged and acted upon the very word of Yahweh from the Torah, the Nabi, the prophets, the Mizmor, the writings and Psalms, and that you made a significant contribution to Yahweh's family as a result. Because God wants to be merciful. He wants to favor us. And the only way that Yahweh can favor us is to give voice to those who would share his love with his children. And he has to enable someone to be, well, especially capable and influential, like the very hand of Dode at this time. Then this says, the day of Yahweh will be exceedingly awesome. The day of Yahweh. What is that day?
So he returns Yom Kippurim.
Yeah, Yom Kippurim. And how do we know that Yom Kippurim is the day which will be exceedingly awesome for Yahweh?
Because he said so.
Well, because he said so. Well, there you go. That always works for me. Why do you think that's true? Because God said so. Okay. All right. Let's go through let's go through the 7 days. The first is Pesach. Do you think that Pesach was fun for Yahweh?
No, sir.
His son was bludgeoned and crucified by the beast of Rome. So Pesach, is that an awesome day for Yahweh?
No.
No. Matzah. Matzah is the day that
Yeah.
Yahweh's beloved son and his soul carried our guilt into Sheol so that we would be perfected. Do you think that having his son go to hell was a fun day for Yahweh?
No, sir.
Necessary, but not awesome.
No.
No.
Bekurim is next. Bekurim is the day that we're adopted into Yahweh's family. It's the day the firstborn is declared part of God's family. His Bekor, and it's a day that we're enriched and empowered. It's a pretty nice recovery from Pesach and Matzah, but is that the great day of Yahweh?
No.
Yahweh turned to that goy of Madod to be the Zeroah, the one harvesting and cultivating the ingatherings of Shabuah and Teruah. Now, do you think that Yahweh is going to celebrate the number one most extraordinary day of his life with the goy? No. All right, so that takes off. Can't be Matzah. Can't
Let's
be
pull
Pesach,
down.
can't be Matzah, can't be Bakorim, can't be Shavuot, can't be Teruah.
No.
So only 2 days left, right?
Yeah.
So you got Kippurim and you got Sukkah. So when is the day that all of the aches and pains are finally over?
It's Sukkah, of course.
Yeah, no.
No, Yom
All the
Kippur.
days are finally over.
Oh, yeah, well, that's right. Don't come back.
Kippurim.
But I mean,
Yeah. When is the day that the relationship between Yisrael and Yahudah, which has been contentious, when is that resolved?
it's at the Yom Kippur.
Reconciliations.
When does Yahweh's beloved son finally get the acknowledgement that he deserved, to the point that everybody who witnesses Dode return with Yahweh cries for him as you would cry for a firstborn son?
Yom Kippur.
Yom Kippurim. Yom Kippurim is the day of reconciliations. When does the final, most beautiful home for Yahweh's name get built?
Yom Kippur.
Yom Kippurim. It is the day.
This is too easy. Can I have some harder questions?
I want some harder. So Yom Kippurim is the homecoming. It is the family
It's Yahweh's
reunion.
day.
It is the time that Dode
Wedding
finally
day.
receives his due.
Yeah.
It is the time that Yahweh can say, I'm really proud of my son. Here's my son. He's brilliant as the sun.
It's the family reunion.
Yeah.
That's
It's
what
the-
that is.
It's the beginning of forevermore, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Whoop,
So,
whoop.
so the day of
Whoop, whoop.
we have
Then we can go off and have a really good
we have
vacation.
Leah doing her own whoop whoop, and look at that handsome fellow that is beside
The wook wook?
the Leah there, the whoop whoop. We even hear Asher wag her tail for Wookie. Yeah, I love him. He's really handsome. He's my guy. So, So, the day of Yahweh, and it's not the day of Hashem. It's not the day of G-D. It's not the day of, crying out loud, Jesus Christ, the myth. Certainly not the day of Allah. It's not the day of the Lord. It's the day of Yahweh that will be exceedingly awesome. But it's not going to be exceedingly awesome for everyone. It's exceedingly awesome for Yahweh.
No.
It's going to be exceedingly awesome. Well, I can tell you, it's going to be really awesome for Maydode, because his job will be the most important part of his job is done. Hey, we won! We succeeded!
Right?
Yay!
Where's the retirement package?
Yeah, hit the shower.
Where's that retirement package? Oh yeah, by
Time
the
for
way,
a really long vacation.
the next 45 days you're executing judgment.
Right.
And don't complain.
I thought you were going to bring that up.
You're perfectly suited to be the rod
You
of divine
delegate.
judgment. And then after that, your job is to take care of my people. Did you know that as we move into Debatim and we have Yahweh's final say as to Miriam, when we have a modern day Miriam that thinks, well, I too speak for God. Well, not so much. But when we read the final disposition of Miriam, which is ultimate and final divorce and leprosy forevermore, do you know that Yahweh actually says that Dode gets a year vacation with his new bride?
Yeah,
Yep.
Wow.
Dode gets a full year vacation to enjoy his new bride.
that's right.
Now,
All the men of Israel gets it.
he gets to it. I mean, he's earned that right.
Yep.
But yeah, Dode gets a full year. So we'll be working through what we thought was going to be our vacation period. I think it's going to be really good duty. So I'm not.
Sweetie, if you remember correctly, Yahweh also gave you a full year with your new bride before he started to lay stuff down on you.
Well, I hope so. That'll be really good. The honeymoon that we didn't have literally among the stars.
There we go.
That'll be good. Okay. So
Asher wants to go. I want to go.
Yeah, okay. Good. I had somebody here, these my furry friends, our furry friends,
Come here.
both left and right hand at the moment. Somebody actually wrote me, and I think it was a South African woman who is a wonderful contributor to what we have to say on X. And she was saying, I've got a number of dogs. What do you think's going to happen on the Shabbat harvest with our furry friends? And my answer was, we're ultimately returning to the conditions of Gan Eden, are we not?
Yes.
All right. What was the most endearing story that took place in Gan Eden?
Oh, the naming of the animals.
Yeah. Yahweh
Hema.
introducing his beloved son, Adam, to all of the animals and interacting with them, communicating with them. And so since we're heading back to Gan Eden, and since the most endearing story of what took place in Gan Eden was with us interacting with animals, that's a pretty good indication, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Since Yahweh was consistent. And who was the fella that of the 600,000 that stands out that was allowed into the promised land?
Caleb.
Caleb. What does Caleb mean?
All heart dog.
Dog, yeah. Dog. All heart.
D-A-W-G.
The Hebrew word for dog. So since he was the person that Yahweh said he is allowed into the promised land, what do you think the likelihood is that Yahweh was going to say, nope, you're not going to have your beloved dogs and cats and other family friends? No, I think it's, God doesn't say it specifically, but boy, does he ever suggest it. So
Wow.
that's my.
I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah, that's my view. Is that that for
Do you hear
Yahweh
that book?
for Yahweh to be consistent. Now, Wookiee may need an attitude adjustment, or he might be allowed in the way he is, because the way he is pretty much fun.
What can you do?
Yeah, he's a regal beast. If nothing else, he's entertaining.
He's a rogue.
Yeah, he's a rogue, but I'm
Like
a rogue
our
too,
rogue.
so that works out pretty good. Leah liked rogues.
Yep.
Yahweh liked rogues.
Yes.
So the day of Yahweh will be exceedingly awesome for whoever is lifted up and who is carried away by him. Now, in this him, we don't really know if him is a lowercase
H or
Hugh
uppercase
or an
H.
uppercase Hugh. And with Yahweh, it really doesn't matter, other than to say Yahweh has another uniqueness that is unique among everyone who has ever attested to be God. And what is Yahweh's uniqueness as it relates to all who have attested to be God?
He gives men credit instead
shares.
of pointing it to himself.
That is the most important aspect of it, and there's even an element before then.
He gives him a lot of credit.
Yahweh
He never brags.
No, Yahweh never works alone.
Oh, that too.
Yeah.
So Yahweh never works alone. And the more
What would the
important
point
part
be?
is he always gives credit. They always say there's no limit to what a person can achieve if he's willing to share the credit. Yeah, Yahweh was the author of that concept. But it also says if you're going to have a covenant family and you're going to play the role of father in a covenant family, it is your job
To act like one.
to act like a father. And a father is far more excited about his son or daughter's achievements than his own, always. And Yahweh has decided, well, he was really given no choice, but it suited his nature anyway. When the children of Israel told Yahweh, go away, shut up, we never want to see or hear from you again.
Mhm.
And Yahweh didn't say, you brats, I'm just going to annihilate you. Now I'm going to find different people. That was not his response. His response is shocking to most, and yet it is so exquisitely Yahweh. He said, yeah, that's good. I'm good with
Trying to
that.
talk to you.
Yeah, that, first of all, I have no interest in hanging around you guys. You're miserable. But that means that all of my interactions with you will be through people and not directly. That's exactly what I wanted anyway. So in this case, when Yahweh says away by him can be Dode, our Messiah. Him can be Dode's herald, who is responsible for the sacrifice that makes the homecoming possible. And in either case, it's sort of a well, it's like being praised for something that yeah, you gave it your best. You genuinely did what you were asked to do. You were enthusiastic and participating, but 100% of what actually acquired was based upon what Yahweh achieved through you. Just like Pesach, Dod paid a dear price. He was beaten. His corporeal body was beaten by the Romans, and his nefesh soul endured Sheol, hell. But without Yahweh making the most of that, it's meaningless, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And so the same thing is true here. So it can be Dod, it can be his herald, it can be the combination of them together, but they're functioning as implements of Yahweh, and so it's a collaborative effort. But it does say that his burdens will be borne by him, and Yahweh does not bear our burdens. Dod does. And to a significant degree also, not to the same degree that Dod does, but so does the Adam of Parah, so does Yada. They both are burden bearers. So I think it's a lowercase he, him.
Me too.
In this case, not an uppercase H, him. And I think the distinction, rather than being insignificant, is actually quite significant, not to give credit, but to understand the very nature of Yahweh, what he's trying to achieve. Because if you don't like that, if you don't like the fact that Yahweh is working through these individuals to achieve his purpose, which is the benefit of his covenant family, this mortal remnant of Yisrael, then you're not going to like eternity very much.
Right.
Because is there any reason to suspect that Yahweh is going to be any different in eternity than he is now?
No.
No.
Yahweh does not change.
No. Why do you think that Yahweh, who is able to do all things, is coming back with his son, and he calls Dod Elyon, which means God?
Yeah.
What does he say? He doesn't say, I'm going to be as brilliant as the sun. He says, my son is going to be as brilliant as the sun.
And every Yahud knows that Elyon means God.
God. And Yahweh says, he's coming back as Elyon. As if he were God.
Dun, dun,
As
dun.
brilliant as the sun. You know, it's not Yahweh sitting on a throne. He says the throne is for my son.
Wow.
So is the palace. So is everything.
Yeah, he's building a home for his son.
And
A
Yisrael
kingdom for his son.
and Yisrael and Yehudah are literally the crowns or the jewels in his crown. The people. It's not material.
As we were translating some of the early psalms that Dod wrote, he was thanking his herald because what he said is the honor of the king is his family.
Yep.
And he was thanking those of us now who are working on his behalf to reacquaint Yisrael and Yehudim with him. And he says that you are the ones who conveyed what I view as valuable. You made it possible for me to be extraordinarily rich because my wealth is in my family. And this is what we are delivering on behalf of our king. We are
Delivering a family reunion.
Yeah, we're delivering a family reunion. We are also the wedding planners for the great betrothal. I'm actually just the cleaning crew. So everybody's going to have a role.
You're the best man.
But no, it's in this wedding. I'm the cleansing crew. I take the adulterous woman and scrub her all up and make her pretty again, so that Dod.
Give me a mop.
Yeah, loves her.
Then you're the bridesmaid.
Yeah. I am the bride. Yeah, I'm the bridesmaid. That's why they call him the Adam of Parah, right? Yahweh's got a sense of humor. So this statement begins with Yoel acknowledging Yahweh's name, something that Israel must accept going forward to survive the horrifying Islamic assault on which is going to appear on our immediate horizon. It is why Yada Yahweh is boldly presented on the cover of every book that we have published, that we have made available at yadayah.com. And it's because we're committed to sharing these translations of what the prophets from Moshe to Malachi, including Yashaya and Yoel, have revealed. It is why Yahweh's name is the subject of the songs that Dode has written and that I have translated and shared. Now, this does not say, however, that Yahweh will speak to his people at this time. Rather, he, Nathan, will bring about and produce, appointing, enabling, and assigning a gift. And that gift is Kol Hu, his voice. Now, this really takes us way back, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the most frequently understood statements in the Torah. Remember when Moshe said, "I don't want this job. These people are miserable. I don't want to go do that. You need to find somebody else." And as proof that I'm unqualified and you need to find somebody else, is I'm thick of tongue. Whether I stutter or I slur my words or I don't have good diction, you need to go find somebody else. And what did Yahweh say to Moshe?
Said, I
Didn't I make your
I made the tongue. I can take it. I can make it talk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It wasn't it me that made the mouth. Don't you think I can make it work?
Mm-hmm.
Now, what that means is that Dabarim, where it was Moshe speaking to the children of Israel,
Yes.
you know why that the insights in Dabarim are so consistent with the rest of the Torah and so profound?
Yahweh.
Yahweh was using
same
Moshe
voice.
as his mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, Yahweh was using Moshe as his mouth. Now, that seems too much for me to process, but this certainly suggests that that is why Yahweh said, "All right, young man, you've written a lot. That's there's not much more utility in one more book. I want you to speak to my people." It says that we've come full circle, right back to where we were. That the purpose of the Yahweh blog, or vlog, as Kevin and my wife will correct me and say that it is a vlog, not a blog. But the purpose of this is to speak to God's people, conveying the words of Yahweh. To be Yahweh's voice in their midst. So with this promise extrapolated from the call stem and the perfect conjugation, we know that there is a genuine relationship anticipated between Yahweh and his call, as there was 3,450 years ago. And it should be interpreted literally, and that God's message through the gift of his assigned voice will be complete. It will lack nothing. In addition to the realization that he will speak to people through this voice at the proper time. Now, it should be obvious to everyone hearing these words that, well, Dode's contributions to the well-being of the covenant family would be unknown if it were not for Yada Yahweh.
That's true.
Yeah, no one would be familiar with or would be able to capitalize upon or engage in the Shavua or the Teruah Qatsyr harvest. And this is the thing that finally took me over the edge on this. And Kevin, I think our relationship started about this time that we came to realize that that the role was a lot more profound than we had previously thought. And it was so far beyond anything I had ever thought or was comfortable with, is the fact that there is more prophetic testimony regarding the role that we are playing on behalf of Yahweh, his people, and of his son than of anyone else. This is the ultimate story of the last days. The Choder, the Nakri, the Nakar, the final Zeroah, the Adamah Parah, the Zebo, Men, Edom, this Bashar, this Kol voice, Yada. It's the single most discussed individual.
It's everywhere
in prophecy by a huge margin. And you say, why would God make that big a deal out of a goy? And as when Doe did the heavy lifting, Moshe did the heavy lifting. Why do this? And then finally you realize, well, why do this? Well, because there is no Shabuah harvest, there is no Teruah gleaning
Without this.
Without this. No one knows Yahweh's name without this. No one knows that Dod is the Messiah, the Son of God, the former and returning King, and that he filled Pesach, Matzah, and Bakorim without this. There is no fulfillment of anything going forward.
That's right.
Without this. And so, I was all in, man. It's like, here's all the chips.
Yeah.
There's no homecoming. There's no Shabuah or Teruah harvest. There's no family reunion. Yom Kippurim, the day of reconciliations, would just not happen. God would have no reason for returning back to the earth. There's no millennial kingdom. There's no restoring our planet back to the conditions of the Garden of Eden because there's no one to camp out. There's no reason for Dod to return to anoint the mercy seat of the Ark of the Covenant because there's
For what reason?
no one, no relationship to reconcile. Now, up to without this, the Haredim would still be twirling, screaming chickens above their heads. They'd be afflicting themselves. The son's sacrifices would be for naught. So God's story does not have a happy ending without Yahweh choosing someone to give voice to his Moedim, his restoring witnesses to the eternal testimony, without someone heralding his son's accolades and accomplishments. And that is why Yahweh matters to Yisrael, to Yehudim, and to Yahweh. Boy, and there just isn't a voice for God's people now, particularly among Goyim. Kevin, you watch pretty closely what I endure, and because you're a huge part of the support of X, not only with Kevin's shorts, which are magnificent, but all of your contributions to X. And on X, apart from our supportive group, there is no one as a goy that's speaking on behalf of Israel.
Yeah,
and
there's no support whatsoever for it. And it runs the gamut from death to Israel to Israel needs to just stay out of everybody else's business. And it's like they're not in anybody; they're trying to stay alive. Yeah,
correct.
They're not in
it's
anybody.
not just that they're no one cares enough about Israel to do what I'm doing. I mean, I'm literally laying down my life and have devoted my life, and we are all now in this all the way to support Israel. But they're antagonistic. They're victimizing the victims. They are genocidal towards Jews. It's whether they're Marxists or they're Muslims or they're MAGA. The 3 M's are universally now on the warpath against God's people. And it's like this whole thing now denying that Iran had nuclear ambitions.
Beg your pardon?
How could you be that stupid? Wait, why would you bury Fordo under 300 feet of concrete and mountain if it was a public humanitarian project?
Yes. We just want
Why
to
would
do
you
medical research.
invest in a reactor to make tritium if you weren't trying to make a bomb? Why would you sacrifice your relationship with the rest of the world, crater your economy, and subject your people to tyranny and lack of prosperity for 15 years to support this bomb? Why would you say death to Israel, death to America if you weren't making a bomb? Why would anyone ever enrich uranium-235 beyond 3.5% fissile purity, which is the maximum you can use in a civil use of it to boil water?
Right.
Why would you take it to 20, 60, and 90%? Why would you subject yourself to being bombed into oblivion to protect a nuclear power plant? Why would a country that floats on oil and gas, which last time I checked, with just a match, it'll boil water, and it costs you 25 cents a barrel to extract, why would you go to all of the trouble of enriching uranium to boil water to make electricity if you float on a sea of gas?
Or need tritium for fuses.
Or use tritium.
Yeah.
Or go through all of the processes to make a bomb, or have all of these missiles and even MIRVs to deliver the bomb. You have to be, if you are saying that Iran was saying death to Israel and going through all of this process to enrich uranium to this extent, and you're saying that they had no interest in a bomb, that was not fair, they were just doing this for
civilian purposes, and they didn't really mean it when they said death to Israel. All you're declaring is you're an idiot.
No, you're an anti-Semite. That you hate Jews. That's all you're saying is I hate Jews.
Thank you.
All the experts who take that view. And, this morning I turned on YouTube to listen to all the experts on this thing, and they are prolific. And every single one of them, the announcement was, I hate Jews.
Yeah.
I hate Jews. That's all it was.
And
what are the MAGAs doing right now? I hate Jews. Now, the last post that I had before I came here was Candace Owens, a Magite scum that
foaming at
was pretending that she knew the Talmud and was pretending that the Talmud says that her Lord and Savior was boiling in excrement.
She's so disgusting.
It's universal that most Jews and all Goy are opposed to Israel. God doesn't have a whole lot of people that are willing to stand in his corner and say, I'm not seeking popularity here. I'm not trying to win your approval here. I'm not trying to garner favor with the MAGAs, the Marxists, or the Muslims. I'm here to tell you the truth, and the truth is that God's people are the most important people on earth. Not only do Jewish lives matter, they matter most of all. Yeah. What happens if we don't awaken Israelites and cause them to shub, to change, and to return to Yahweh? What happens to our planet?
He will destroy it.
Yeah, Yahweh's made it very clear. That's why the last sentence to the last of the prophets says, if he didn't do this, I'm not coming back. I'm just going to destroy the planet. There's no one to come back to. So it's not just that Jewish lives matter. They matter most of all. It's not just that Israel matters. It matters most of all. If Israel is destroyed, if we don't do something that mitigates the ultimate carnage, if we don't protect a remnant of God's people, not only is God not coming back, there's nothing to come back to. You can't have the great and glorious, awesome day of Yahweh without Yisrael, without Yehudim. And so for someone as effing stupid as this Candace Owens and say that the Talmud denounces my Lord and Savior and pretending like you're somehow godly, when what you're saying is the antithesis of what God wants. You're demeaning and discrediting God's people on behalf of your God-forsaken religion. You're dooming the planet with every word you speak. You're demonizing God's people. And, you look at the Christian New Testament. What does it do? It's the most influential book in the world, the Christian New Testament. It demonizes Jews.
Oh, yeah.
It degrades them. Why does the Christian New Testament go out of its way to degrade Jews?
Steals everything and then blames them.
Yeah.
That is the answer, sir. They stole the Messiah from them. They stole the Son of God from them.
Stole the plan.
And they sold every promise that God made to them from them. And the only way that they could justify stealing everything that God had promised to them was to degrade them. It's the most dehumanizing book ever written. Now, I'm not going to say that the Quran is a book full of cherries. It's disgusting. It's Satan's, wet dream. It's revolting. In fact, the interesting thing about the Quran is it's different than the Christian New Testament. The Christian New Testament is like Ezekiel. It's Ezekiel was 25 ways to rape and kill Jews. That's the theme of Ezekiel is 25 ways to rape and kill Jews. And so that Satan can reign supreme and build this monstrosity of his temple and pave over Yahudah, and then recreate the Moed Mikre in his honor. That's the book of Ezekiel, and that is essentially Christianity. But Islam, the 8th surah of the Quran is pretty clear that all Muslims will die fighting for Allah. So if all Muslims die killing for Allah, isn't that universal genocide? The elimination, the extermination of the human race? Now, why would Allah want the entire human race exterminated?
So no one will come back.
No one comes back. Because if no one attends Yom Kippurim, this homecoming and family reunion, guess who doesn't come back?
Yahweh doesn't come back.
And if Yahweh doesn't come back, then Satan never gets
sent
off to Sheol. There's no reason for his reign of terror on the earth to end. And at that point, there's no more people to annoy him. That's his win. We are, in fact, the adversary's adversary, because it is what we're doing that precludes the adversary from prevailing.
We are also the most hated people on earth.
Yeah. The moment, Kirk, we've been good friends a long time, but the fact is that the moment Dr. Jeff, who was actually the first, and followed by Yoel, my friend Joe, and then Leah was the third. The moment the 3 Israelites, Yehud, came to embrace Yahweh's name and returned to Yahweh based upon Yada Yahweh, Satan lost.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, we're going to have thousands that benefit. The 3 would have been enough. 3 would have been enough. And the fact that then there were Goyim along with that, that is the prophecy that Goyim would be the first, and then simultaneously Yehudim and Yisrael. But for the family reunion to occur, it has to be Israelites, and that is something I keep on saying. I'm a goy. We're delighted that there are goy who choose to be part of Yahweh's covenant family and who have embraced the terms and conditions of the covenant. But we all have something in common. If you're going to be a goy and you're going to participate in the Moed Mikre and enjoy the benefits of the Bereth covenant, what else is there to say about you?
You have to camp out with
Yep.
Israel. You have to be in their midst. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And we are.
That is correct. That is correct. And it is the distinguishing factor.
It's Yahweh's home, Yahweh's family, and
Yep.
if you don't like them, then bugger off.
We are guests in Yahweh's family.
Mm-hmm.
They're natural born, and we're adopted. And if you don't love Yisrael with the passion that Yahweh loves Yisrael,
Bugger off.
bugger off. Yeah, you are not welcome. And if you do love the Yahweh's Torah and his story of his people,
You're
even if
more
you
than
appreciate
welcome.
that, that God's people have been irascible, they've been obnoxious, and it's not our job to judge them. It's our job to awaken them.
Mm.
It's our job to reintroduce them to Yahweh. So
Can you
God's-
repeat that again? It isn't our job to judge them.
No, it isn't our job to
It's
judge.
our job to tell them what's up, what
It-
time it is,
no.
where they are on a map.
Now, be totally fair, it is our job to tell them that Yahweh has already judged them
Yes.
and that they did this to themselves. They were obnoxious. And that
Consequence.
3,450 years ago, they were so obnoxious and embittered and rebellious around Yahweh that they actually told God to go away and shut up and never speak to them again.
Mhm.
And it got worse from there.
Sure enough.
So they have judged themselves and they have put themselves on the outs with God. Our job is to recognize that that's where they are and to bring them back home. And so we are here as heralds to bring Yahweh's family back home.
And let me give the Mishpachah a little treat here. Most Jews are fed a steady diet of the fifth food group that y'all don't get. It's called guilt. So we pretty much know we're wrong. In some way, somehow, deep down, they'll never admit it. They're too pretentious, but they know. They do know.
Yeah. I think that's likely true. And I don't think that's maybe true with the ultra religious or the
No, not the religious.
the ultra political. But I think the rest of Israel recognizes that they're estranged from God and that a remedy is necessary. They just
Don't know
never
what that
had
is.
anybody prior to us
Yeah. Mhm.
say, we love you and we're here for you and we're going to make introductions and we're not going to judge you. We're not going to say, boy, you really are disgusting. You better come in and sneak through the door. No, we want you to walk through the door, proud, tall. You're God's people. And I want you to know that when you walk through that door, it's not Yahweh's not going to point his finger at you and say, how dare you? He's going to open up his arms and say, come here.
Doe didn't do what he did
It's-
for
yeah.
us to stand on the other side of that door and point fingers.
Yeah, no, he's going to say, come here. I want to
That's
group
right.
hug right now.
Yeah.
And Yahweh's going to be the first one to share a tear. God, yeah, welcome home.
Probably not. That might be Leia.
Well, it might be Leia, it might be me, it might be. Well, it won't be you guys because you're. But it'll be us. But we need to get Rich.
Mhm.
I know we have another camera over there, Rich. We have another microphone over there. We now have this
The studio
fancy,
set up for it. It's so easy.
forthright box that looks like like a professional studio, and we have this video switch that is able to
Putting you under pressure.
to do
huh, Rich?
all wonders. All we need now is the Rich. He's feeling very good because he took what was a completely dysfunctional internal network conveying our internet, and we thrive on our internet, and took it all down, and now it's purring like a kitten. And he there was serious issues with the forthright units that we were using, which are the number one audio transfer device for streaming these kind of programs. And he took them all down to their bare just hardware and reprogrammed them so they're all now working beautifully. He's got my wife now comfortable being part of this program. I wouldn't be surprised if he takes Wookiee and gets Wookiee mic'd up before long.
Actually, Wookiee's pretty quiet. It's Asher who's really vocal.
So, he's really got it going, and he's even done something that you can't tell behind the scenes. But when we had that rough show, but before the internet was fixed, and we had the show going in and out on our last program on coming home going over Dode's 20th Mizmor, he's now found a way that on our streaming laptops, we can actually record these whole shows so that if there is a glitch, we can upload the recording after we've done the live stream. And now he's got tools on his phone actually now, where if there's an issue with the audio, he can watch it and react to it. And then he also has going in the background our uplink capabilities, so he knows what's going up to the satellite and when it has a hiccup, and then how to adjust it. So it is a lot that he has going on, and he, like my wife, is a bit of an introvert. So I understand all of these things, but he's a handsome and bright guy. And he used to be, by the way, a performer. He was a guitar player and singer with some
he can sing.
Very famous vocalists and bands. So he's got some stage presence. So I'm waiting to see Rich make his appearance.
He's an audio nerd.
Yeah, not him in your music group.
Yeah, the rumor is that he's struggled a little bit getting the last of the microphones properly feeding into to StreamYard and into our recording capability, but he'll have that figured out soon. And when he does, we'll have Rich too. Because if you're going to be a monkey in the middle, you should be balanced with two on each side, don't you think so?
Where were we?
God's story. So if you think that we could be exaggerating any of this, then it is up to you to explain why Moshe said all of this, why Yahweh revealed all of it, what Dode had to say about what we would accomplish together. You need to have an explanation for Solomon's speech at the dedication of the house for Yahweh's name, when he told all Yisrael that the Nakri would speak to them and they needed to listen and act upon what he had to say. And Yeshayah not only devoting the entire 11th chapter to the seven spirits of Yahweh, empowering what you're listening to, and writing the Nesh, but I'm not even sure it's second to Dode. Yeshayah's constant references to this individual, whether it's the Adam of Parah that he's discussing or the man from Edom that saves many. Even in the most famous chapter, the 53rd, where he speaks of Dode taking away the guilt of us all because we have gone astray as the Lamb of God. He says, if you want to understand this, you need to begin by coming to appreciate the one who tells you about the three Zeroah.
Nobody but you.
Yeah. The first person to ever properly explain Yeshayah 9 about who the child is that was born and the son who was given.
And it ain't no Azus.
No.
Yeah.
That's Dode.
There is so much you would have to explain away.
Yeah.
If you want to hold a different view.
The statistical probability is so high.
It's zero. It's because it's the single most discussed theme in end times prophecy is what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no one else who's ever even discussed these things, much less solved them. I mean, you don't have anybody else that's even discussed them, much less solved them.
They're not even on the map.
No, they're not even on anybody else's radar. And here, we have a bullseye. And
Yeah, they don't even know the
look at the
question.
books behind us. Look what we're doing on fulfilling what Yahweh is asking for. Listen, I'm not trying to sell the fact that we are the fulfillment of all of this, because it means nothing to me one way or another if you agree or don't agree. If you don't agree, you're just not going to be part of forevermore. And it's not about how many; it's about what
Quality.
the quality of the individuals, the attributes, the attitudes of those who want to be part of Yahweh's family. And you're going to be there, then you're going to recognize how God is purveying this information to you, and you're going to recognize that his name is indeed Yahweh and who introduced you to Yahweh, and you're going to know exactly who Dode is and what he has accomplished for us. And there'll be no argument about it. You're not going to stress over it at all. You're not going to say, gee, that's a lot to say about one person. That's a lot of responsibility. I'm not so sure. It's never even that thought isn't even going to dawn on you because it's so obvious.
Right.
And with all that Yahweh has done, listen, I would love to weasel out about 99% of this, but you don't even think about it because, well, the fact is that God has made it overwhelmingly clear that this is where we are. This is what he's doing. It's why he's doing it this way. And ultimately, well, I think we enjoy what we're doing here. I mean, I see big smiles on everybody's face. We do. We thoroughly enjoy what we're doing here. But it's not to say that there isn't some pressure,
But let's go back
some sense of responsibility.
let's go back a little bit before that. Yahweh says about this voice of his is a what? It's a gift.
Yeah.
So you can do one of two things. You can look a gift horse in the mouth, or you can just accept it. Free will, baby.
A gift bull.
And life goes on.
A gift bull and a gift lamb in the mouse, as
Yeah.
the case may be.
Yeah.
Listen, it's Yahweh's made this clear that this is his way. These are the people that he chose. This is how he is reuniting with Yisrael. Yisrael is still his people. I'm sorry, church and Christians and Goy, but no, you didn't make the cut. You're dead ass wrong. And Yahweh has chosen his people. He's returning to them, and he chose someone to reintroduce them so that they could have a marvelous family reunion. So we're telling the story as he told the story. He chose us to write us into the story, and we're playing the parts that he has written. And I'm not going to pretend that all of it is laughs and giggles. It is lots of fun, and it is highly rewarding. But the fact of the matter is, there is an enormous sense of responsibility. Leah and I talk about it all the time. Rich and I talk about it all the time. Is that you just can't imagine how horrible it would be to come through the Shabbat harvest, for example, and have failed. And to say, God, I don't know what I could have done that I didn't do, and I'm here now to, I'm open. You tell me what I screwed up on, what I failed to do that would have made it different, and I'm embarrassed to be here and having not succeeded for you. You deserved better.
No way. Failure is not an option here.
Just don't want to be in that position. And so, part of it, getting up before the sunrise and putting in the long days and doing this. And we just transformed our house to recording studio.
Yep. Cords everywhere, lights everywhere.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. It's a completely different environment. Part of our motivation is, we're going to be honest with you. I don't want to I just don't want to disappoint Dode or Yahweh. And the bigger motivation than that is that I just think it would be exceptionally wonderful to be part of the Shavua and Teruah harvest and the sacrifice of the red heifer, and to know how many people and how many relationships are now possible forevermore with God because of our collaborative work together. I just think that's going to be a sense of satisfaction forevermore. And I think that God wants us to be satisfied with what we achieve together. If you're going to serve Dode as our king, we want him to be proud of us.
Sure.
We want him to know that he can trust us. We want to have fun at it, but we want to be responsible. That's a job that God gave us. And can you imagine having this opportunity to transform the lives of this many people and this marvelous a way, and at the same time please the creator of the universe? Yeah. How could you have a more wonderful way to live one's life? And to have Wookie here as a co-host. Is that right, Wook?
Well, without the option of the Adama Para, it's not much happens.
No, it can't be done.
Yeah,
we can have a Shabbat harvest, but the Shabbat harvest, it's not the homecoming. Mm-hmm. So we can have a Shabbat harvest.
It might be the homecoming, but it's definitely not the prom.
Yeah. And we can have a Teruah gleaning, but keep in mind on the Teruah gleaning, guys, we may be really active on that gleaning of Teruah, but the fact is that we're playing second fiddle at that point.
Yeah,
the primary actor is Elia. Elia is the guy with the credibility. He's the guy with the big pipes. He's the guy with the Don Rickles sense of humor. It's Elia's show for that. But we come back in big at the second day of Teruah, and if it weren't for what we're doing, there would be no homecoming. So there is a sense of responsibility. There's also a sense of tremendous satisfaction of all of this. And Yahweh has done his best to relieve a lot of the pressure, because Yahweh is very good at prophecy, and he is very good at reassuring those who work with him. And he has told us emphatically that we prevail. We succeed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And, the coming back, you're coming back with the team. And I will just remind everyone that 8 people will be coming back to facilitate this.
Yeah, I think that was one of the more
shocking revelations.
I'm not sure it was shocking. I think
I was shocked.
That was one of the more comforting, actually.
Yeah.
And that Yahweh says, okay, we turned the page. We had a little fracture in the family, which is par for the course. It was necessary. You got to have fractured families if you're going to speak emphatically and passionately for me. So we had a little fracture in the family. Now the fractured family doesn't represent a lot of people anymore. We've been given access to their most recent mumblings, and there's about 6 of them that are grumbling together now, and all in the shadows, scared to death of us, by the way. But they
still spewing vile and disgusting.
That after that there was a genuine bolstering of the team, the family that would take this message forward. And so for us to recognize that there are 8 people that are part of Shabbat that come back as team
Team Yada.
To pursue that final gleaning, to set up the ultimate sacrifice of the red heifer. And I know everybody has a job. Kevin, you volunteered to be the minstrel singer. You're going to be there. I've heard your tune; it's a really good one. And Captain Kirk, I know you're riding shotgun on that white chariot.
There you have it. Yeah.
Leah has signed up for her role too. After Hasatan beats the life out of me, she's going to beat the living crap out of Hasatan.
Well done, Lynn.
So
I also plan to carry the whore away.
Yes,
I'll volunteer for that.
Yeah, well, she's been assigned the opportunity to carry the whore of Babylon away. And she's definitely one of those two people. There'll be another one that will be partnering with her in that. And then there'll be 8 of us that will be setting all of this up and working on behalf of Elia for the final harvest. And then that white chariot that picks up the remnant of Israel and brings them back to Jerusalem. And, if you're going to have a master of ceremonies of Eliah's capability, if you're going to have Leah kicking the crap out of the corporeal manifestation of Hasatan, and Kevin, we are going to need some good tunes.
Right.
You got to have a musical backdrop to all of this thing. And with the way that you and Leah are collaborating on the
Yahweh music,
the Yahweh music group, it's going to be a great show. It'll be the greatest show ever. The greatest show on earth.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do a soundtrack to Kicking Satan's Ass.
Yeah.
I'll do the album covers.
Okay, yeah. So you can do the album covers. Yep. I'm going to be otherwise disposed at the.
Literally.
Yeah, well, we all play our part. I would kind of like for the moment to be able to change roles with Elia. He gets to be the master of ceremonies. And, I get to be the bull in the ring that, the bull at a bullfight typically doesn't do very well.
No.
Well, so eventually Yisrael is going to have to figure this out after millennia of not knowing. And ultimately the children of Yisrael are going to be less obnoxious and that Yahweh is going to be embraced.
Oh, I don't think we're going to be less obnoxious. I think that we're going to be pushed against a wall until we lose our obnoxiousness.
Yeah, I do think that a lot of those who are, we know that many of those who are purified as the adulterous woman so that they can be betrothed to Dode on Yom Teruah, on the Shabbat of Yom Teruah, they are going to be there because, they've realized that being religious doesn't work, and being a Marxist and progressive in your belligerence and your politics doesn't work, and the IDF didn't work, and the rabbis didn't work, and your political party didn't work, and you're surrounded by raping, abducting, torturing, mutilating Muslims. That maybe this would be a good time to say, so let's see, what are my alternatives here? Okay, that Yahweh guy they keep on talking about. Let's.
Maybe it was better for me with my first love.
Yeah, maybe it was better for me the way it was intended to be, because realistically, everyone who has embraced what Dode has achieved and has embraced Yahweh's name. Between now and a year from now is going to be part of the Shabbat harvest, right? Yeah. That's our goal. So everybody that's accepted the terms and conditions of the covenant, who has attended Yahweh's Moed Mikre, who is supportive of Yisrael, who is engaged in this work, is going to be part of the Shabbat harvest. And then on the gleaning of Teruah 7 years later, all that have come to rely upon Dode and Yahweh and Pesach, Matzah, and Bakodim are going to be part of that Teruah gleaning. If you didn't make the Teruah gleaning and you are a goy, at that point, your only opportunity will be to be among those goy who are not religious or political and have the right attitude and attributes, and you get to make your way in as one of the workers for the celebration of the millennial Shabbat of Sukkah. And the Yehudim will fall into one or two categories. Either those that, you stayed religious and political to the end, you're gone, or they're jumping on that white chariot with Captain Kirk riding shotgun, and they come back to Yisrael and they're ready to be purged. But they will have at that point known Yahweh for, a nanosecond. So if they understood who Dode was, who Yahweh is, what the Moed Mikre represent, what the terms of the covenant are, they would have made the Teruah harvest, right?
True.
Yeah.
So there's not a single one of them that knows diddly squat.
No, they'll be baby.
Their only thing they've got going for them is at that point they're no longer religious or political,
Mhm.
and they're
they
at least
walked
open.
away. Step one.
Yeah, that is correct. And that's why when Dode gets his year vacation, that's why it is our job to help
Come up to speed. Yeah.
teach them, to help say, okay, now you're here, don't screw it up. This is what you need to know. And that's why I think we're going to continue the Yahweh blog. I think we're going to continue with the books. I think we're going to be broadcasting to them regularly.
Like
and there'll be a
teaching.
lot of them, so it's it's not going to be so much a hands-on thing as it will be like we're doing right now, having the books on the shelf and having these programs that speak to God's people. I think that's going to be
spoon feeding the honey to the kids.
Yeah. So it's a very exciting opportunity, and we're here for Israel. We think that you will feel the same way we do. That if you are willing to let go of Judaism, you forego your political allegiances, and you embrace Yahweh by name, and you come to recognize that Dode is your Messiah and your King, who fulfilled Pesach, Matzah, and Bakodim for you, and you recognize that there are those 5 conditions of the covenant, and that the 5 benefits are provided by Dode's fulfillment of Pesach, Matzah, and Bakodim. And you become part of the covenant family. You're going to share the same confidence and joy, sense of purpose that we all have, and you're not going to have to endure the 7 years of the time of Jacob's troubles. And you're going to be enriched and empowered, enlightened, and emancipated by Yahweh. Emancipated to such an extent you're going to be functional in 7 dimensions. And then you'll even be part of that initial crew that helps bring about that final teruah harvest, and then the sacrifice of the Adam of Perah, and you're going to get to witness the greatest show on earth.
And all you need to do really is cut the Hashem crap, walk away from your father's house, and trust and rely on Yahweh. It is that easy.
Yeah, well, there's a little more to it. You've got to understand that there are 5 conditions of the covenant. You need to understand what they are. You need to have an appreciation that the benefits of the covenant are delivered through the Moed Mikra. You need to know that Dode fulfilled the first 3 of them in Pesach, Matzah, and Bakodim, and what they represent in your life. Of course, you need to have a great appreciation, as Leah said, for Yahweh's name. These are all things to know. God specifically did not create shortcuts. He wants you to have to want it. Yes, Kirk constantly says you got to have the want to. If you don't have the want to, you're just not going to make the cut. This is not a religious situation where all you have to do is believe. No, you got to know. You have to trust and rely. And you can't know and trust and rely until you understand who God is, who his son is, what they have achieved together, what they're offering, what they expect in return. And that's why we do these programs. So I think we've reached the end of our time. If I look over and I see we're at it's 7:44 Eastern Daylight Time. We're sneaking up on that 2-hour mark. We just did a program almost immediately before this, so I can tell you the truth, my voice is beginning to falter. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Yada.
Kevin, I'm really so very pleased that you're able to create such marvelous shorts, because that is really the medium of communication. And I love having the opportunity to post them. Kirk, I appreciate the research you did on Yada and what it means to be Medod, and what the other 2 letters mean when they come before Dode. And Leah, thank you. You're here now. You're full time as a co-host. Everybody that sees you as part of this program is is excited that
I saw Rich for a minute ago.
yeah,
Rich.
the pretty feminine face amongst us old bearded rascals.
Class in the place.
Yeah, that gives us a much better look and a softer appeal. Although no one would really ever accuse Leah of being overly
soft or feminine.
over soft in her appeal. She's a feisty one. Yes, is my wife for the first about 5 years that I knew her. She always introduced herself as, "I'm Jewish. My name is Leah."
I want to give them the chance to preemptively hate me.
Yes, so she does. They're just
Don't
fighting.
wanna waste
I'm
your
Jewish.
time.
Yeah, I'm Jewish. My name is Leah.
Yeah.
So there's
That's funny.
nothing about Leah that's going to sneak up on you.
No.
Yeah.
Huh.
So thank you all. Thank you, Rich,
Yes, sir.
for making all of this possible. It doesn't work without you. We would have been absolutely dead in the water had you literally dead here in this water in the middle of this island had you not completely transformed your life and come here to be of support for what we're doing.
Whoop for Rich.
Oh, there
Yes,
he
indeed.
I
Yeah,
see him on my screen. I don't know if we see him on the other screen, but
Yeah.
there's
Yes, yeah.
distinguished and handsome
Audio tech.
Rich making it all possible. So thank you all so much for listening.
Yes,
Have
sir.
a wonderful Shabbat.
And Shabbat
I hope
shalom,
that it's
everyone.
a quieter night
Yes.
for everyone in Israel, and that the number of missiles subsides, and that the ultimate goal here is that somehow, some way, the Iranians choose to forego Islam in vast numbers, and that they overturn the Islamic government and they form a secular state, because that is the way that Israel wins and prevails in all of this. And I think Leah knows that to a significant extent, the first 5 years of my relationship with Yahweh made some of that possible. When Yahweh asked me to write Prophet of Doom, the forerunner of goddamn religion, when he asked me to write it initially, 90 to 95% of Iranians identified as Shia Muslims. This is now the volume 5 of 5 volumes of goddamn religion, formerly Prophet of Doom. So at the time that I wrote it in 2002, after having met with Al-Qaeda, Hamas, Hezbollah, and Islamic Jihad in 2001, right after 9/11, 90 to 95% of Iranians identified as Shia Muslims. After having written Prophet of Doom, posting it on the online, and actually doing an audiobook of it, and then doing 5,000 radio shows to make people aware of it, the highest per capita readership in the world of Prophet of Doom was in Iran. And 20 years after that exposure to Prophet of Doom, which proves that Islam is rubbish, that Allah was modeled after Satan, that Muhammad was a sexual pervert and ruthless terrorist, that the Quran is the worst book ever written, having proven systematically that there's nothing worthwhile in Islam. Now just 35% of Iranians identify as Muslims and only 30% as Shia Muslims.
That's remarkable.
I can't claim that that is all a direct result. I can claim that Yahweh asked me to write Prophet of Doom, and I can tell you those were the numbers before I wrote it and after it became so popular in Iran. And I can also tell you now that if there isn't a secular government that is established, that Israel will lose this war, because Israel cannot project a force of that magnitude into Iran and occupy Iran. So it is the only way that Israel wins. this war. And clearly Yahweh had a reason that he wanted us to write it and to have that influence on Iran, and it's had it. So Israel, now it's necessary is for this to become the most important book that is read over the next couple of months in Israel.
And all over the Middle East.
And then this one is the next one that you read, because this one will protect you from the death plague that is Islam. This one will open the door to
Life.
forever more with Yahweh. These and spare not only a remnant of Israel, but facilitate the maximum participation in the upcoming harvest of Shabuah and Teruah. So that's as good a way as I think we can conclude this program. I want to thank you, one and all, for participating. Be safe, Yisrael. We love you. God loves you. Yahweh wants to embrace you with open hands and open arms. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Kirk. Thank you, Leah. Thank you, Rich. And even for Asher and for Wookie. Good night to all. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Good night.